Okay.
All right.
We are a go. Entering the Technosphere at so many levels.
Entering the Technosphere. And I find, Andrew, I find myself sitting here, I'm like, well, this is like riches. We've got another guest
I know,
in our
yes,
studio.
yes.
Which is fantastic. We've got Clark Miller with us.
Clark Miller.
Hey, y'all.
The Clark Miller. So Clark, welcome to Modem Futura. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks. It's great to be here. I'm really looking forward to the conversation.
Yeah. Well, that's your mistake. That's mistake number one. Already you lost. I think this will be a lot of fun. And also, I mean, it's a crazy fun time of year. We've got graduation happening. It's the end of the semester. We're sitting here in the desert. At least I'm freezing. I don't know.
Apart from the fact that it's about 15 degrees hotter than usual outside.
It's strange. It's like I don't know what it is about the temperature.
It's the Technosphere. It's the urban built environment.
There's going to be a theme here.
Yes. Nighttime temperatures, winter temperatures going up.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Exactly. Well, it's the built environment.
Okay. So Clark, over the course of the next, the next 45 minutes to an hour or so like that, I expect to walk away with this now understanding fully all of these issues and, being better prepared to handle. Why am I freezing I had another moment just over the weekend. We're out. It was they were having like a holiday party kind of a thing, but it was outdoors and they had like a fire pit and I couldn't get close enough. I mean, I was like, I'm like, oh, too hot, too hot, too hot.
Of it.
Yeah, too hot. And then you step away and I'm like freezing. It was 62 degrees.
See, this is a recurring thing. Since Sean left Michigan and came down to Arizona, he has lost all resilience.
I can't. Yeah,
we do. Our bodies also adapt.
They do. So I knew
us.
Wisconsin before here, so you were used to the cold as well.
I spent the first 37 years of my life, I like to say, in small towns with large land grant universities,
right,
and really, really nasty winters.
Right.
The variety of nastiness varies.
Right.
From really, really cold to really, really snowy to ithacation, which, if you don't know, is raining and 30 degrees.
Yes.
The absolute worst
Right.
weather
That's
on the
when
planet.
You get the freezing rain.
The wet sleet and all that. But it's wild. And I just laugh because, again, same thing. The former version of myself, pre-Arizona, would have been like in shorts and flip-flops, been like, it's beach weather. It's 62 degrees. I don't care. And now it's like 62 degrees. And I was like trying, like that moth that gets too close to the fire and then goes right in.
Yep,
I was like, that was me. I was just like, I can't warm up.
One day you won't be here. We'll know why.
In the town that I grew up in, the official temperature never hit 100 degrees.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow. That's interesting.
And I thought that was the best thing ever.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, now we blow past that. We have how many consecutive days a year at 100 or higher. Just absolutely insane. Yeah. So, but anyway, Clark, it's a pleasure to have you here. Why don't we take a quick break? So normally I'm trying to do better. I'm trying to curb these long, rambling, cold opens. But since we have a guest here, I always feel the pressure to just get to it. So, we take a quick break and then we'll jump back in. And Clark, I'll formally introduce you to our audience. How about that?
Great.
All right. Well, I'm Sean Leahy, joined by my co-host extraordinaire,
Andrew Maynard.
And that means this is Modem Futura, the show that explores the intersection of technology, society, and the possible, probable, and preferable futures, asking deep questions like what will it mean to be human in the future? And today, of course, we are grateful to be joined by our special guest, Clark Miller, PhD, professor and director for the Center for Energy and Society, and one of our colleagues here at the School for the Future and Innovation in Society at ASU. So Clark, again, formally, welcome.
Thank you.
And I have here, so I'm always curious. I always dig these out. So I scraped this out of your university profile. So if it's wrong, it's all your fault.
Can I just say at this point, the number of times we're told to keep these up to date. So this is going to be the test, whether you actually following instructions.
And I take absolutely no responsibility. But anyway, in terms of, I tried to do this as succinctly as possible. But so Clark is joining us. So not only as one of our favorite colleagues, but also he is a theorist and designer of Techno-Human futures. His work aims to improve people's ability to design and operate technological systems and navigate technological change in ways that cultivate human thriving and justice.
That sounds great.
Hey, look, it's almost like you wrote it.
I did. And in fact, I wrote it relatively recently.
Oh, see, you passed the test.
Brownie points for
You
you.
passed the
Yes,
test.
Yes.
But no, Car, I think, again, first of all, thank you for joining us on Modem Futura. It's an absolute blast. I think there's lots of places we can go today, but I think maybe first, I mean, can you explain a little bit about, just from your perspective, like, what is it to be a theorist and designer for techno-human futures? Like, what on earth is that?
Yeah, because nobody calls themselves except me.
You're carving out a niche here.
That was kind of the point.
I will say that is a brilliant move, because that's the easiest way to be number one of, if you're the only one of.
Absolutely.
Ranked number one in the world.
I am taking career advice right now.
I'm going to have to talk more if I'm going to get in here.
Which is unusual, but yes.
So let me start with the basics.
Sure,
right? Which is a lot of people think that humans are biological creatures that essentially haven't changed very much since probably prehistoric times.
Okay.
And they tend to think about humans in terms of populations as put down in the social sciences at the end, with the birth of the social sciences at the end of the 19th century. When statistical population sciences were really getting going, right? And my view is that it's a really problematic way of understanding what humans are.
Right.
I see us as fully integrated with our technological and industrial systems.
Right.
Okay.
And I see that biologically, biochemically. So if you think about it, we have both through our breathing in of toxic air and industrially constructed air, and drinking of water and consumption of industrialized food. We have a chemical intake, which is dramatically different from previous eras of human beings, and which is also specific to the particular industrial landscape within which you grew up.
Okay.
Of course, we are also chemically enhancing ourselves constantly with pharmaceuticals.
Yep.
We are biologically enhancing ourselves with vaccinations and other kinds of strategies. So biologically, we are part of an industrial landscape.
We're integrated with this. Yes. Yep.
Cognitively, the same thing. So if let's say, imagine that tomorrow I want to fly to, let's say, Delhi, Bangkok, Beijing, no problem. Right?
Yeah.
I can
Okay.
conceptualize
Yes.
that.
Right.
What human before 50 years ago could conceptualize
Yes. True.
that tomorrow they could be in Beijing?
Yep.
So-
So the way we think, the way we imagine the
That's right.
future has changed fundamentally.
So if I hear you right, Clark, when someone calls me a Neanderthal, I could say, no. Clark says no.
Absolutely
You can't
not.
call me that.
You are not a
You can call me a
Neanderthal.
symbiote with our current technological capabilities, but you may not call me that.
So
You're a techno-Neanderthal.
Techno-sapien?
Yes.
Is that a thing?
So our technologies are inside us
Yep,
in some
yep.
important
Yeah.
ways.
Yep.
And our technologies, we are also part of our technologies.
Sure.
Right. So I am an automobile driver. The car doesn't go anywhere. I mean, even these new Waymos don't go anywhere unless people are engaged in getting them to go places. Right.
Yep.
I'm an energy consumer, and all of us are let's say, electricity consumers.
Absolutely.
We've got powered microphones, powered computers,
Beautiful microphones, I might add.
stuff in this room.
Yep.
Right. And that is adding to the electrical demand on the grid.
Yep.
And the grid is in turn having to supply that. Right. And
Yeah.
so, and it turns out in the 1950s and the 1960s, so up until that point, the utilities spent enormous amounts of effort trying to shape electricity demand. And we can talk about that if you'd like it at some point later on.
Yeah.
But as air conditioning technologies grew,
especially
it
in this part
entered
of the
into
country.
the economy.
Yes. Yep.
Well, and especially in the Southeast, Florida and Texas, where you have the humidity, which requires even greater energy consumption to tackle that particular cooling challenge. The demand on the grid in the evenings became so late afternoon and evenings became so large that it became much more difficult for them to shape demand. And they essentially also at the time developed some new power plant technologies, in particular what we now call a gas peaking plant, that was allowed them to be much more load following.
Sure.
And so the grid now follows electricity demand, right? And so so we're part of our system.
Right.
And our systems
and of course,
are in us.
I just looking at the energy grid, one of the things that always amazes me that I think many people miss unless they're working in the area is we can't just create energy and store it until it's needed. You have to create it on demand, which means there's that really tight coupling between our behaviors and what is actually produced.
Yeah, aside from some limited storage,
but it's very limited. Yes.
That we've had historically.
I mean, everyone knows that with a giant battery wall in their house. No, I don't have that. Well,
I can tell you some stories about power walls too. But,
well, because I think that's well. First of all, thank you for that explanation. That's very helpful.
So that's what I mean by Techno-Human.
Yes.
Right.
So deeply integrated.
We are one.
You can't separate us as the biological entities
Right.
from the world we live in and the technologies we create and integrate with.
Right.
Yes.
Right. And I think that's very fascinating too, because I mean, even just pulling that apart. I mean, I think there's a lot of places that would be fun to explore that too. But I mean, even just like, the microplastics that are in, you know what I mean? I mean, we hear that one a lot. I think it's becoming almost, I feel like people are becoming almost desensitized to that notification because we hear it so much. But the fact that we're discovering it everywhere, not just like the stomach, it is like going through your body.
Of course, the interesting thing is, and this takes me back to my public health stuff.
Yes.
There are many man-made chemicals that have been in our bodies for a long time. It's just that microplastics really stand out because it doesn't feel intuitive that all those plastic bags suddenly end up in our brains and elsewhere.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and we've talked before too about, just in general that we have these technological signatures as a species, right? That are these, for whatever time frame or timeline that as it moves on, or those forever markers of we've reached certain levels of technological sophistication or whatever. But it's really interesting, Clark, the way you kind of put it, where we are one with that it is not humans like bolting on technology, but that it is our current manifestation is sort of one and the same. It's a symbiotic relationship with that technology, for good or for bad. That it's just sort of there.
Right. So then just to take that to the next step, right? So once you take us as techno-humans, then it also means that what we inhabit are technological societies. Now, there was a famous guy, Jacques Ellul, who wrote a book called The Technological Society in the 1960s, theorizing that technological societies were different from societies that came before, societies that were not fully technologized and engineered the way ours is. But I like to make it plural. And that goes to this designer thing.
Yeah.
I like to make it plural because when you look at what it means to use technology, to weave technology into, let's say, the social fabric, to the economic fabric, right? You find that you can do it different ways. Right? Not all cities are designed like Phoenix.
Right.
You
Thank
also
goodness.
have London. London, where you get penalized for driving automobiles. Phoenix, where you can't live without driving automobiles.
Right.
These are radically different forms of technological societies. And I will tell you, I gave a talk at EDF in Paris to the energy sociology group. Radical concept. Their electric utilities hire sociologists. But,
last time they did that, I guess, huh?
But we had this fascinating conversation because they don't conceptualize the relationship between humans and energy.
Interesting. Okay.
The way that we do. And part of it is because they're not automobile societies in quite the same way in Europe. But part of it is also that we are a petrostate. We are a massive producer of energy. And they're not. And historically, the European economy has been an energy import
Right.
economy. And as a consequence, they think about energy in terms of scarcity,
Right.
Interesting.
in terms of efficiency,
Yep.
in terms of conservation, in terms of living through cold European winters
Yep.
without turning the heat on, putting your sweater on.
But I was
Right.
going to say sweaters and insulation.
Exactly. Whereas we think
Right.
about it in terms of energy abundance, right?
Right,
This
yes,
new
yes, yep.
word that's everywhere in
Yep.
our,
Yep.
in our
Yep.
society, but it is, it is there for a reason. That
Yeah, yeah.
abundance has been this
And of
perspective.
course, and you can see fairly immediately that leading to different social policies. I mean,
Totally.
there's that huge contrast between Europe and the US, but also you see that between Europe, US, and Asia and other places as well. Very different mindset that drives policy decisions.
Right. So if you think now about technological societies or
Mhm.
technological economies
Yep.
as having different designs, it turns out Google Scholar, fantastic tool for looking up literature. The phrase technological societies
Mhm.
exists in in less than 100 journal articles.
Really?
Yeah, it's remarkable,
Okay.
right?
Yes.
So we have not written about technological societies, and there is no literature on the comparative study
So
of
this
technological
This actually
society.
surprises me, which it shouldn't, because I've known you for a long time.
Yeah.
But one of the things that strikes me is clearly you go back 20 to 50,000 years in human history, and you can see that intersection between technology and society and growth, however you define technology. So we know some people would even put sort of the evolution of language in there.
Of course.
So
of course.
then the question is, has there been something fundamental that's changed over the last 50 or 60 years, or is this just a deeply underexplored synergy between what we do and who we are and how we live?
Yeah, that's one of the questions that I ponder
Right.
late at night. Right? Is there anything fundamentally different?
Mhm.
And there's been some anthropology/archaeology
Mhm.
writings that have suggested that in fact our language and our conceptual vocabularies
Yep.
and our ways of being evolved in relationship to our tool making.
Right.
At
Yes.
very,
yes.
very early stages.
Yes. Yes.
And so that in some respects we are,
right.
right?
Yes.
Technological creatures.
And have always
from the
been.
very
Right,
beginning, have always
right,
been.
yes.
That's exactly what I was just coming to. I was like, so by that understanding, it's not didn't become a technological species.
It's actually part of our evolution.
That's how
Yes,
we have been.
Right. But I really want to insist, right, on this. There's not one kind of techno-human. It
Yep.
depends on how
Sure.
you configure that's
Right.
the brilliance of what we are as human
Right.
engineers
Yes.
is that we have created this ability
Mhm.
to reimagine and redesign ourselves individually and collectively
Yep.
as techno-humans. And we can treat that. I say this with some, with the full, Consortium for Science Policy and Outcomes, humility around uncertainty.
Sorry. Those are two things that don't often go together, Clark.
Right. I say this with, with appropriate
Yes.
recognition of the
Mhm.
of the challenges and limitations of things. We can treat this as a design problem,
Mhm.
not in the sense that we design an Apple iPhone,
Right.
but in the sense that we are making choices
Yep.
about how to configure these things, and we are doing so in a distributed fashion across, 7 billion people and lots of institutional settings. And so the outcome is not a designed outcome.
Right. But the process.
But nonetheless,
Yes.
it's a design process.
Yes, yeah, which seems to be absolutely critical. And so there's this whole concept I find fascinating because it aligns so much with a lot of my thinking around sort of imagining and actually constructing alternative futures. And of course, there are challenges there when you begin to also look at sort of how human behavior fits in with that. Though I know that you would argue that actually human behavior is connected with our technologies as well. But this idea, which actually sounds remarkably optimistic, that if we get our act together, we can proactively design the sorts of positive futures we want to within this technosphere. I mean, am I pushing things too far here?
I don't think so.
Right.
But getting our act together is a huge lift.
Right, yes, right.
It's a techno-human capabilities problem.
Right. What we really need is a school with degree programs that teach people how to do this.
With all the limitations of what that implies, right? Because, the students still have to get jobs, which means people have to be willing to pay for this stuff.
Right,
so it's a co-production problem.
That's right. But I think it's very, very clear that we have this capacity as a species to not only imagine different futures within the whole realm of the technologies that we have and we're developing our intersection with them, and we can actually engineer and plan and create pathways forward if we had the skills to be able to sort of see how to do that.
Yeah, so this has all come about, all of this thinking has come about in the context of the clean energy transition.
Right.
Where, for 50 years now, we've been articulating a vision around what we've come to call today net zero greenhouse gas emissions, right?
Yes.
So can we redesign the global set of energy systems, right? Which are, I call them the beating heart and circulatory system of the industrial economy.
Right.
Right?
Yep.
Can we redesign that around this criteria of eliminating especially carbon dioxide emissions, but ultimately all greenhouse gas emissions from those systems? It's about 75% of the climate problem is wrapped up in the redesign of the energy system.
Can I just back you up a little bit there, because there is an assumption baked into this, and the assumption is that carbon dioxide in the atmosphere is a bad thing, and I know we all know why, but I think it's worthwhile sort of putting these prior assumptions on the table, and that we have to do something about the planetary systems that are part and parcel of this world in order to have a flourishing future.
Yes.
So just say a little bit more about that, because I think it's really easy just to slip into a conversation where we assume that climate change is bad and we've got to do something about it. But I think it's more complex than that when you look at our relationship with our technologies.
So that's the question.
You.
Well, in Clark, while you're thinking about that, I would just kind of add in too. I think, and Andrew, I think to that point, right, is I think one of the burning questions around energy, and I've been thinking about energy a lot. I'm going to be teaching a course in the spring. I've been bugging Clark all the time, being like, share some info. But one of the things that has kind of come up is sort of this growing, almost paradox around energy. One of, I can worry, like other technologies, right, that as they become sufficiently advanced, they start to slip out of recognition and become part of the background. Right. So initially, when something is new, when it is emerging, it is very obvious. We call direct attention to it. As it becomes sort of more ubiquitous or more baked into our activities, the less and less we focus on it. And I think energy is one of those things that in some ways is becoming more invisible to the average person in modern life compared to,
we just assume that the juice flows.
And you just know. I mean, I think, something that's always interesting. I mean, it's a thought experiment that runs through my brain. And I ask people randomly, just out of curiosity, even from a computer IT perspective, it's like when you send an email or you type a text message, when you hit send, where do those electrons go? Like, do you understand how it goes? And even with the plug in the wall, when you just plug whatever it is and you just expect it to be on, not even having the comprehension beyond your house and the breaker box of where does this energy come from? So one, I do wonder about it slipping into this realm of invisibility.
Technological amnesia.
Yeah. But then also this paradox that comes with that while the energy is seemingly everywhere, it is increasingly becoming fragile with the increasing demands, especially around electric energy, right? And so, so to that end, so I'm really curious how is this all coming in, because so how do we make this transition? How do we do it all? It's becoming more fragile. It's slipping into the background.
And why? Why is the transition important?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So lots and lots of pieces there. You have you have reminded me back up to my some of my earliest readings, right? So Langdon Winter in this book, The Whale and the Reactor, in the mid-1980s, which was formative for me during my undergraduate days, talks about technological somnambulism, what he calls sleepwalking
Mm.
through large-scale technological change, which I think is not unrelated to this idea of visibility and invisibility of these these structures. I want to highlight, though, that this invisibility is not a general losing sight of. It is a deliberate strategy.
Okay.
It is a deliberate strategy on multiple levels. So first of all of the electrical infrastructure, which is now a plug in the wall and a bunch of stuff behind the walls, used to be in front of the walls when it was initially put in.
Yep.
Right? The reason it's not in front of the walls anymore has to do with safety. Electricity is a dangerous technology. It's actually one of the more dangerous technologies. And we're discovering that around battery fires, among other things.
Yes.
We're rediscovering it, let's put it that way. Right? So there was a deliberate strategy to move a lot of that stuff using code, right? Using policy.
Building codes, not coding language.
Building codes. To make that infrastructure, to put it out of sight and out of reach. So that it would be more safe. So the second thing that happens is that these systems, as they become more and more important, reliability becomes a more important feature of the performance of the underlying technological system.
Yes.
And so the system optimizes around that reliability as a performance metric, which makes perfect sense because the more reliable it is, the more it can get used, the more critical the processes it can get used on.
And by system, you're talking about the whole sort of social economic policy system, that everything.
Absolutely.
Yes.
But also just the electricity system itself, right? So the electric utility is working to achieve this highly reliable service of electricity, which then makes it possible for you and I to forget it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. We no longer have to pay attention to it because it is just there.
Yes. Yep.
And then, of course, when it's not there, we yell and scream at the utility executive. So they are even more incentivized
to make sure it's reliable.
to get this right.
Yes.
And so we've seen that evolution. And so especially in a place like Arizona, where you literally couldn't have built this city without modern air conditioning. And we see that in the population numbers, right? We go from a few 100,000 in the pre-air conditioning era in this valley to now about 5 million people. Right.
Yeah.
And every building is actively cooled in this city. And so we now built a city in which you have to have, you've got 5 million. It's like building a city below the dam, right?
Right.
If the dam breaks, you flood the city. If the electricity system goes out in the summer,
we have a serious
and for people, because we have a very international audience. So people who aren't familiar, so the Phoenix area during the hottest months, which are usually like the summer months, so June, July, August, there are times during that peak where we'll hit 120 degrees Fahrenheit, which is, didn't even know what that is in Celsius, 48, 50 degrees Celsius.
Getting close to 50.
50 degrees Celsius, which it will not cool off. At the coolest part of the day, it'll still be well over triple digit, like it'll still be 104 degrees.
That is the thing. At the night, we don't
doesn't
have the
cool
cooling
off.
effect.
Yep. And that, so I mean, even that alone, I mean, I remember when first year I was here, we had our second child. Literally the day we brought her home from the hospital, the AC unit went out. And it was like, so for the first two days of our daughter's life, we were in a hotel, which was as glorious as that sounds, because it was the only place we could, and she was born in July, and it was the only place we could go that had air conditioning. And so until they finally,
so there's a bunch of issues about breakages and repairs, which we could talk about. But the third part of this invisibility problem, right, is that as you drive reliability and performance of these systems greater, and so you get greater demand, people are willing to invest more economic activity, more life activity on the back of this highly performing system, right? It gets more complex to run that system. And also more crucial that the system operate on its technical performance requirements.
Right.
And so from a policy perspective, there's a lot of incentive to remove extra voices from the decision-making process, right?
Yep.
To constrain decision-making to those individuals and organizations that have the skills and expertise to be reliable partners
reliability,
in the construction and operation of this system. So the invisibility takes on multiple deliberate elements. Right. Now you get the transition.
Right. Okay.
Right. Now we have to rebuild this system.
Yep.
Right. So
which has effectively got a life of its own now. This is a sort of self-sustaining system in terms of optimizing for reliability.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. And all of our lives are embedded in it.
Yes.
Right. And it's embedded in us. And now we're going to change it.
Right.
So.
And we're going to change it because.
We're going to change it.
Because it's working. I mean, come on, Clark. I mean, I've got my electricity.
This room is, we are bathed in the glow here.
We're going to change it. We're going to change it because the way we've done it so far, both electricity and transportation, which are the two big energy consumers in our industrial economies, we have optimized around a choice, come back to that design choice theme, to use carbon-based fuels that we have dug out of the earth to do that. So coal, oil, and natural gas predominantly within those two systems. And then we combust them.
Right.
We burn those
and of course,
fuels.
That affects other systems.
Sure.
Yes,
and then the combustion has a waste product.
Sure.
And that is carbon dioxide. So the carbon in the fuel gets attached chemically through the combustion process to an oxygen molecule from from the atmosphere.
And I love how deep you're going.
Draw me a picture of that molecule. No, but and these are expelled, right? And then in these kind of systems, they're very inefficient in the sense, like, I mean, how much energy is lost in the combustion process that does not get converted to electrical energy?
Right.
The most of it, right?
The combustion processes are 40 to 50% heat.
They've got better.
Okay.
Yes.
Right. And it depends on whether you use that heat or not.
Sure.
So we have lots of systems that are what we call combined heating and power systems.
So they're capturing the heat as energy.
Heating systems. So those capture and use the heat in addition to producing electricity. And so it's more efficient. But automobiles don't do that.
Right.
They just churn the stuff out.
So then this carbon dioxide goes out into the atmosphere, and the carbon dioxide is its spectrum. It interacts with the light spectrum, the spectrum of photons that are coming in from the sun and hitting the earth, and it captures a bunch of those
so creating the greenhouse effect,
and it creates a greenhouse effect. It becomes like an insulating layer
and
around the planet, and it begins to warm things up. It begins to shift temperature regimes, and especially where we've spent shifting from global warming to climate change kind of discourses, becomes a driver of more extreme weather.
Sure. And one of the reasons I asked this, and it may seem like a no-brainer, apart from the fact that I always find that getting back to the root of a problem always helps in the discussion going out. And of course, what you've just described on multiple levels is a positive feedback system. So you just take sort of Phoenix, for instance. We are expending all this energy to keep the place cool, but in the process, putting carbon dioxide out into the air, which leads to warming, and there are various other things that do that as well.
And now we need more cooling.
Now we need more energy to go into cooling.
Correct.
And so you have what any good systems engineer would see as a potential tipping point in your system, where you just simply cannot assume that stuff business as normal is going to carry on as business as normal in a changing system. The system has got to change at some point. Otherwise, you're effectively dead in the water.
It becomes a runaway. I mean, we talked about this before, where it's like, going back to like those slogans of like save the earth, save the. It's like no, we gotta save the humans, save the techno-humans, because at some point, right, that becomes such an aggressive.
Save which techno?
I would argue at least the three in this room.
You on the poster, Clark. I mean, it's basically going to be save Clark.
Save me.
Just make this personal.
No, but I don't mean which set in a distributive sense.
Yeah.
Right. But I mean, the point is that we're part of these systems. So if we're going to change these systems, that means we're going to have to change ourselves. We're going to evolve as techno-humans into a different form. So when I say save which techno-humans,
our future.
I mean that our future is written in with respect to which system that we've got. Now, here's the crucial point.
Right.
It's not just a design problem around carbon-based energy technologies versus non-carbon or low carbon based energy technologies. It turns out there's lots of different ways that you can design what I would call a green energy future.
Right.
Okay. And by non-carbon, just for people who aren't familiar, you're talking solar, you're talking wind. Water, desalination, whatever.
Desalination consumes water. Or energy, not produces
but you can have
the water barriers.
You have salination gradients.
Yeah.
So you generate electricity
so not
from
desalination, salination.
You generate electricity from the gradient between saline and non-saline water. Yes. You can.
You can, but not at a price anybody would be willing to pay.
Yes. Okay. Thank you for that rabbit hole, Clark.
Well, in the future.
No, so there are lots of different ways to design a green energy future. And I don't just mean solar versus wind.
Yes. Yep.
A lot of this work came out of working as part of our quantum electrodynamics and sustainable solar technologies research center that NSF funded and DOE for a decade in the 2010s. And their vision was to make a Moore's law for photovoltaics.
Right.
To drive the efficiency of the panels
effectively
up.
Doubling efficiency every whatever.
18 months or whatever.
And then the cost down.
Yes.
So if you have more efficient, less costly technologies, you drive exponential adoption curves, right?
Yep.
So it's the same idea for semiconductors. And if we could do that, their goal in 2010 was that by the early 2020s, we would have deployed a terawatt of solar energy. And guess what? By the early 2020s, worldwide, we had deployed a terawatt of solar energy. And we are now at a half a terawatt a year in terms of solar deployment.
Yep.
So about halfway through the center, as the weird social scientist in the mix, I started listening to this vision and thinking about how this vision, what the narrative logic of this vision was. And the first question I asked was, well, is a terawatt enough?
Right.
And they were like, oh, that's a great question. So they went off and did some number crunching. And it turns out we need somewhere between 30 and 180 terawatts of
Oh my
solar
goodness.
to provide half the world's primary energy.
Yes. Yep.
Depending on how you use that energy in its final form. So the 30 terawatt end is if you convert everything to electricity.
Okay.
Because it's efficient. We already talked about that.
Yep.
The 180 terawatt end is if you continue to use as much fuel in the economy as we currently use, you just make it carbon neutral fuel. Synthetic fuel of some sort. Hydrogen, synthetic.
But you're converting it into some
carbon
other form,
fuel, right?
Okay.
So you take your electricity, you produce fuel with it, you then combust it. Both processes, energy conversion processes, lose energy, a lot of energy. So you need a lot of times as much primary energy.
That sounds like a lot of places in the middle for people to get rich and
absolutely
and have no net.
So
oh gosh.
So already you can see, right? There's a design question here, right? Depending on how we use the energy, we either need 45 billion solar panels, or we need 300 billion solar panels.
A lot.
Yes.
Yep.
Right? So that's a big difference.
Right. Yes.
Right?
Yep.
But then I say, oh, well, that's interesting. Okay, so let's just take a number, 100 billion solar panels. How do we put those 100 billion solar panels down in the world?
Right.
So first, there's a physical question. Where are you going to put them? You can put them on rooftops. You're going to shade parking structures. You're going to put them out in farmers' fields, right?
Yes.
It's a design choice, right? Second question, how are you going to weave those into the economy? Who's going to own them?
Yeah, who's going to pay for them?
Yep.
Where's the money? Yeah.
So 100 billion solar panels. Turns out, if you take our neighbors across the street for solar and a basic, their Series 6 solar panel, and you calculate the amount of energy that panel will produce over its lifetime, and you give that some value, say 10 cents a kilowatt hour, and you subtract out the cost to manufacture and install the panel, you get a number that's like the net. It's not quite a net present value, but it's
like the lifetime
net
value or
lifetime
something.
value of that solar panel. And it comes out to something very close to $1,000.
Okay.
So that
Positive.
Yeah, positive.
Okay.
Yeah. So that 100 billion solar panels is worth $100 trillion.
Okay. Interesting. Yes.
And so the ownership question over those panels is who gets to
gets
own.
Right.
Who gets that
to
money?
make the money? Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And so now you start to think about the political economy, the distribution and wealth and of power that you are determining when you write the rules over who gets to own solar panels. So if you live in Arizona, you can own a solar panel that produces electricity and distributes it into the grid. If you are a company that builds a solar power plant and sells it to the utility,
right?
Or you are a homeowner.
Okay. Yep.
That's it. Nobody else can own solar
nothing
panels
in between, right?
legally.
Yes.
In this state. So if you're a renter, you're out of luck.
So now you've got a policy barrier. Yes.
Well, not only do you have a policy barrier to a certain suite of possible energy futures,
right,
but you also have a political economy that's built into your rules.
Right. Yes. Yes.
Right. That says people who already own assets, companies and homeowners,
are favored,
get to own more.
Right.
So that then becomes this design question. And so one of the things I've tried to argue about this energy transition is that we need to start putting human outcome criteria, techno-human outcome criteria,
right, of course,
if you will, right, alongside net zero emissions.
Right, yes,
And to explicitly say, these are some big human goals that we would like to achieve as a result of the design of our future energy systems alongside net zero.
Yep. So you've already sort of added a first order sort of modification to the equation that basically sort of says we've got to find a technological fix to climate change. So which has driven so much work so far. We've just got to find the perfect sort of renewable or sort of non-fossil fuel source. So now you're saying we've got to place that within a techno-social sort of system. We've got to think about people in this. We've got to think about how people behave and policies. What other layers of the onion are there here if we're going to make this work? Because I'm sure it's not as simple as saying, we've just got to change the policies, we've got to change the political system. Although that's easy, surely.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I do, like I get invited to give talks to groups of young renewable energy aspirants. And I almost always end the lecture with a simple statement. I say, if you really, really, really want to have influence over the future of this thing, learn how to write the rules for who gets to own solar panels.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
So that is a seriously
in other words, power and influence always
seriously non-trivial power.
I mean,
have. Yeah.
I mean, it is one of those. So two things, real quick. One, it is always amazing to me. Again, as someone who is not native from out here in the American Southwest, it does seem almost criminal that every parking lot, every whatever, does not have to have solar covering. One, just the shade alone would be amazing. It would cut a huge amount of temperature off of the asphalt and the cars that are in like every shopping center or whatever. It's amazing to me how far you walk without any shade anywhere in this place. But two, the other question I have, Clark, around that is, so looking at just a lot of the other, so outside of the energy sector specifically, looking at a lot of the other emerging technological things we've been talking, it has been, headlines almost daily are talking about new AI tools, new AI data centers, new this, new that, all these, the Stargate project, this, the tech companies all passing around the same $200 million or whatever it is,
Right.
paying each other in a circular economy.
That's the most unusual form of circular economy I've ever come across. The circular economic economy.
I feel like there was a great meme about this with like the Three Stooges, and it was like, you owe me $5. It's like, we could do that. It's like, Clark, if you give me $5 and I give Andrew $5 and he gives you $5, and then it's like we can all claim we've been paid $5, but it's the same $5 just going around and around.
So now, but you do understand, right, that is all that economies are.
Well, sure.
And that has a very specific definition from the Federal Reserve.
Yeah.
It's called the velocity of money.
Yeah.
And the faster
yes.
that circle goes,
The more we all make.
Here we are, yes.
the
revealing
wealthier
that it's
our
all-
society is.
Got to have
course-
been a physicist
and
that came up with that one.
And of course, and of course, Clark, this all reveals, of course, that all the money is just a social construct. I mean, it has no actual value, right? But looking at that, so one of the things that is coming up a lot. So you were just talking to, I like the explanation of around like for the solar panel thing but as you're describing that sounds like that is something that's going to take forever to do. Even if people are rewriting the rules, that would be a long-term investment to get that to move at scale. And the question I have is, what about sort of a shortcut to be able to produce an increased amount of electric demands? Specifically, I'm talking about the SMRs, the small modular reactors. So these small nuclear power plants, essentially. So instead of investing in solar or whatever, is attaching this massive, or they're still big in terms of human physical size, but these SMRs to new data centers, what have you. I mean, famously, well, not famously, but in the US, it made national headlines that the city of Chandler just voted no to getting a new AI data center put in because of a lot of these energy concerns.
Right. And we're seeing this movement across the country.
Yeah. Because again, I mean, that's always been the dark side of this stuff is, nobody wants that power plant or that factory or whatever it is. They don't want that in their neighborhood.
Yep.
I heard somebody describe it as NIMBY,
Yep.
not in my backyard.
Yes. Yep.
So we want these, again, we want the invisible layer of this, the advantages of these technologies.
We just don't want the
sure as hell
visible
don't
layer.
want it in our backyard, right? But I would be curious in terms of just kind of your thoughts or ideas around, as techno-humans, would there be an advantage or a pressure or a mistake in terms of jumping towards circumventing how long it might take our process as it is to go scale in some of these carbon neutral, non-fossil fuel based energy and go directly towards like nuclear power? And I'm curious what your thought is about that, knowing that it feels that we are on a trajectory right now that is just accelerating our demand for electric power. And I would just question whether or not going solar panels, for example, would move fast enough to satiate that demand versus going to something more potentially drastic, like going nuclear. I'm curious what your thoughts are on that.
So let me just start with a simple observation. So there's what you've asked is a really complex question.
Well, thank you, Clark.
First,
I'll take that as a compliment.
well,
I was just thinking it was long.
even if it was meant the opposite.
This system is incredibly complex. Just take that at face value. First, note that what the solar analysts said in that paper that I was referring to earlier is that it would take 30 to 180 terawatts of photovoltaics to produce half of the world's primary energy supply in 2050, assuming everybody around the world came up to European energy consumption standards, and at the 30 terawatt end that we electrified the economy. Now, they said half for a very good reason, which is it's highly unlikely that you're going to get to a situation where you have a single technology
Right.
that is providing all of the
100% or something, right?
energy
Yeah.
supply, right? And so there's plenty of room. If you are a wind advocate, if you are a nuclear advocate, if you are a gas with CCS advocate, there's plenty of room for
Right.
your technology to have a huge impact on the global energy system,
Right.
and still have half
Right.
of it come from solar.
Yeah.
But having said that, so just let's talk about scale. In the United States, in the last few years, we've been adding something like 50 gigawatts of new renewable energy capacity each year.
Yep.
Okay.
So these small modular reactors, many of them are on the scale of, let's say, 50 megawatts. And then you stack a few of them together and you get 200, 300 megawatt
You don't get
type
that
facilities,
far.
right?
Yep.
So 50 megawatts versus 50 gigawatts is a factor of 1,000.
Yep.
Mhm.
So that means that just to match the current scale of renewable deployment in the United States, which is not at the world's
Right.
forefront in terms of
Sure.
pace of renewable additions,
Yep.
You would have to build 1,000 SMRs
Yep.
next year.
Yep.
Okay.
And it's a technology
And
that's
then
still
the next-
emerging as well.
It's
So
a-
Right.
yes.
It's an experimental
Right,
technology.
right,
We
right.
do not have a demonstration project
Right.
that has been built.
Right.
And you would have to build 1,000, which means you need 1,000 communities, right?
Yes.
If you're going to build 5 of them at a time, 200 communities that say, yeah,
Yeah. Put
we
it here.
want one in our backyard.
Right. Right. One of those
What could
experimental
possibly
things
go wrong?
with nuclear
So-
in it.
Yeah, that's a nice nuclear symbol. That looks good in my
So
backyard.
we are talking about nuclear,
Yeah.
and we should be talking about the future of nuclear energy in this country and
yes.
around the world.
Sure.
Yep.
But we are not largely talking about what are we going to do in the next 5 years.
Yep.
We are talking about what are we going to do in the 2040s
Right.
with nuclear energy.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of continued deployment that we need
Yep.
to continue. Now, let's take globally. So let's say we end up at the 30 terawatt end of the design requirements. We electrify vehicles. We electrify a lot of heavy industry.
Yep.
Yeah.
We push towards that electrification, which we're doing, by the way.
Sure.
Yep.
Ember Energy has written a bunch of recent reports talking about electrification and what they call electrotech, and the transformation that's happening in a variety of industries around electrification. We've got 25 years to get to 2050.
Yep.
We need a total of 30 terawatts. We've already got something close to 3. So we need 28 terawatts
Right.
in 25 years.
Yeah.
So we need about a terawatt a year kind of time scale to get to that scale that
Right.
we need.
Right.
We last year deployed 632 gigawatts, so 0.6 terawatts.
Okay. Yep.
So we are within less than a factor of 2 to get to the pace at which we need
Right.
to be
To
able to
actually
deploy
reach.
solar.
Right. Okay. And this is
And-
just solar. Yes.
And this
Yep.
is just solar.
Just solar.
And the Chinese manufacturing capacity last year was estimated at 1.2 terawatts.
And I was going to ask you that.
So in other
about
words,
that.
they
Yes,
have
yes,
the
yep.
capacity
Right. Yes.
to manufacture
Yes. Yep.
the solar panels and solar
That we need.
cells that we need
Yep.
to be able to do it at scale, at the scale that we
Right.
need in order to do the solar piece.
Yeah.
Now, the rest of the piece is not unimportant either.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
We
yeah.
got to do the other half too.
But I get this distinct impression that solar is this point where if everybody was pulling in the same direction, it could take us a long way in the interim before we have more esoteric sort of energy sources.
We're doing this project around solar in Phoenix at the moment, which is super exciting. And so the first step of that project was to use LiDAR data. The U.S. government flies. This is going to generate conspiracy theories. I can tell already. The U.S. Government flies
Also,
airplanes.
who identify as Techno-Humans, I think, as well.
Flies airplanes over cities, and it uses laser beams to scan.
Oh no!
And it generates high
Those
resolution.
contrails, I knew it.
Yeah.
That's right. High resolution maps
Mhm.
of the city. So
Okay.
Yes.
we have constructed a 1 meter scale resolute 3D map
Yes.
of
Yep.
the Phoenix built environment,
Right.
the whole metropolitan
Yep.
region. And we have used that in conjunction with the FEMA buildings database to just estimate if you put solar on all the roofs of Phoenix. Now,
Yep.
the current estimate is that we probably, if we do the green energy thing and electrify vehicles and electrify heavy industry, and we add a bunch of data centers, that we probably need to double Phoenix's electricity supply.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So currently we're at, I don't know, 30
Mhm.
gigawatts peak consumption. You double that, you need another 30 gigawatts. So the solar panels on the building rooftops would generate 43 gigawatts.
Right.
And that's no parking lots yet.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
haven't even, we haven't measured the parking lots
Yep.
yet, but that's next. We're
Right.
building a database of potential
Right.
parking lots.
Interesting.
So our argument is that there's actually lots of places where
yes,
you can
yep.
put solar within the urban
Sure.
urban environment. There's lots of reasons we don't do that at the moment, but we're trying to argue that there are good reasons.
But you have
to do it.
short-term pathways forward, again, if everything aligns. But then this brings up something that's been bothering me. So the whole concept of the Techno-Human, I get, it makes perfect sense. I think it's a lens and a frame through which to understand sort of the world, the present and the future, and how we get there. But I also worry about human behavior, which is innately biological. And I know that some of our behavior is technology driven.
Let's call it techno-biological.
Biotech.
Modified biochemical.
It was the original biotech.
But people are intransigent. People are awkward. People have their ideas about how they want to live their life, and over their dead body, are they going to change things? How do you deal with this? Because you can, from what you've just described, you can see the way forward if everybody was pulling together. But we know people don't pull together.
So,
Yeah, well, hold on, just to add to that.
Right.
I was just looking this up because I remember I had heard this fact and figure years and years ago about, because one of the questions back then, this was before SMRs, and it was like, we have the biggest nuclear reactor we have. It's just 8 minutes away as light travels as our sun. And the question was like, how much energy every day comes and hit in terms of solar power hits planet Earth. And I looked it up, so I don't know how accurate these really are. But the estimate was that it's 173,000 terawatts with a 30% reflection rate, resulting in roughly 120,000 terawatts reaching the surface of the Earth per day. And just again, if everyone would pull in this direction, right? How much, would that not solve all of our current and potentially future energy needs if we were just able to capture even some percentage of whatever of that 120,000 terawatts?
You realize you're sounding like Elon Musk at this point.
Because
this is exactly one of the arguments
we could also build
he
a Dyson sphere around our sun and just capture everything.
Yes, we could.
It would blot out there'd be no visible light left, but who cares?
There are some very human reasons why we don't do this.
What that just signals to me, right, is just to that end, is that there is more than enough potential energy striking the surface of our Earth in terms of what we could capture for energy. Why can't we just all get along and do it? Yeah.
So,
tell us, Clark.
Yeah, great question. No,
can we techno the behavior out of these humans?
The challenge is I shouldn't say the challenge.
A challenge. One amongst many.
Right. To go back to my fundamental premise about Techno-Humans, we are part of these systems. We arrange our lives, not randomly, but in relationship to these systems, right? So we've built out this city of Phoenix, and it has a housing pattern associated with it. And it's an extraordinary sunk cost.
Yes.
Right. Where we've built those houses. And so the ability of of anybody, right? There simply is not enough housing around ASU for everybody to live in
So you gotta
housing
live
around
out, yes.
ASUs
Yep.
and walk to campus every day.
Right.
Yep.
And there isn't, for various reasons, a capable mass transit system because, again, you've built
We
a
built it for
low
personal cars.
density
Yes.
system for personal automobiles. And so now we're stuck,
Yep.
right, with needing personal automobiles in order to be able to do the things that we've come to take for
Right.
granted, right? So now we're going to substitute. And actually, electric vehicles are perhaps about as close a drop-in substitute
Right.
technology for
Yep.
internal combustion engine vehicles as you could imagine. They've been designed,
Yep.
To
Just to
slot
fit into the
in.
system. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
right? And still, they're just a little bit different,
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
right? And that just a little bit different
Yep.
creates the
Attention,
kind
yes,
of
Mhm.
inertia,
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
right? And so this to me is one of the things that one of the ways that we've made a mistake, right?
Yeah.
So it turns out if you look at techno-human driving patterns, so you take this hybrid entity, the person car, right? A driver connected to an automobile, and you say, what does that person do? What does that person car do? What is their geographic pattern of circulation?
Well, based on my experience, drive slow in the left-hand lane.
There is a distribution
Yeah.
of those things.
Yes. Yep.
But our initial models of EVs have all been about one group. Now it happens to be probably the largest group.
Yep. Yep.
And that's the daily commuters.
So you could
in
actually
urban
engineer the
settings.
system if you take that broader perspective.
You
Yes,
could
yep,
engineer it differently.
yep.
You could design EVs that would work for a broader cross section. So
yep.
now the resistance comes in because somebody who doesn't fit that model
Yep.
buys an EV,
Mhm.
has a bad experience
Right.
because it's not optimized for their techno-human
Yep.
configuration.
Yep.
They start a campaign on Instagram.
Right. These shouldn't exist.
Right. Right.
They shouldn't
yes.
exist.
Yes. Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And so it's not that there's anything particularly inherent, but we are crappy techno-human designers.
Right.
Right.
Which makes sense.
Selfish
And
techno.
that goes
Yep.
to where we started the conversation about why we should be having this conversation, in the sense that we haven't ever developed
Yep.
this analysis of techno-humans, this ability to visualize techno-human systems in a robust way. And so it's underdeveloped.
That I agree with. And so what I find fascinating is what you've just described. Cognitive scientists would almost definitely describe in terms of heuristics and cognitive behaviors. And you get to this whole idea of nudging behavior by sort of making it less frictionful or more frictionless to behave in certain ways. But all of that is done without this context of the techno-human. It's just done in the context of the human. And it strikes me that there is a very rich expansion of that whole area of research by understanding that integration between technology and how we behave as biological species. So again, you get to the morphing or the merging between those.
And the engineering parts of campus that teach people to be engineers have spent an enormous amount of time pushing that away.
Yes.
Focusing on the engineering
Just the
of the
technology.
hardware
Yes.
or the software, right? But the technical parts of it. And the social sciences equally have pushed those kinds of questions to the margins of their fields. And so the consequence is that none of our existing intellectual landscape sees this as front and center. I've been talking a little bit recently about what I call engineering adjacent learning. So the idea that there's engineering, and then there's a bunch of questions which are not engineering questions.
Right.
That are questions about how we use technology, how we integrate it into our lives and our livelihoods, how we make economies out of technology. that are, that are really important, and that we
Right.
should be developing pedagogical programs
Sure.
around those. We should
Yes,
be
yep.
developing research programs around those,
Mhm.
Yeah.
and making it explicit that it needs to be alongside and in dialogue with engineering. But this isn't, and this is crucial, this isn't about reforming the engineers.
Mhm.
It's about acknowledging that there's a set of questions that run alongside
Sure.
engineering
Yes. Yep.
that are equally important for the kinds of human outcomes.
Yeah.
that
So
we get.
let me push you on this, because I think this is really important. And as you say that there is a gap here, put your forecasting hat on. What is your prognosis of the future of, say, the US, if we carry on this route of thinking engineering is just about technological solutions, and we don't change our understanding of how we develop skills around the techno-human rather than just the technology? You can be as dire as you want to.
We're accustomed to that.
Because I think this is an important question.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
if the consequences are negligible, it's just an intellectual exercise. If the consequences are serious, we need to be doing something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're at, I don't like this language of tipping points, but I think
Sure.
we're at a juncture.
I use it all the time.
I-
We're at a fulcrum.
We're at a juncture. We have done two things across the 20th century that put us in a different spot than I think we've ever been before. The first is we've built global scale techno-human systems that now compete with planetary ecosystems for influence over the planet's dynamics.
Yep.
Okay. And those systems are now, as we've talked about, they're robust, they're reliable, they're essential. They're critical infrastructure
Right, yes.
systems. So you don't get to do without them.
Right.
We often talk about, in the energy space, we talk about transforming the airplane while you're flying across the country. You know?
Which is an
You don't
analogy.
get to not
Right.
fly.
right. You've got to keep on going.
Who would do that? I mean, holding on to a part that breaks off, perhaps, but like, who would do that?
Well. Actually, a better analogy is the Runaway bus, because it's on the ground. You're in it.
That's true.
You've lost your brakes. You've somehow got to. Yes.
There you go. The other thing that we've done is that we've radically upscaled the pace of technological innovation.
Yep.
And we've used that to achieve some, to get very close to some edges that are really important, right? So one of those is the deliberate genetic and or biological engineering of human bodies.
Right. Yep.
And by the way, global ecosystem.
Yes.
We're also
actively
engaged
exploring
in
how to do
that,
that.
right?
Yes. Yep.
The second of which is, artificial general intelligence, right? This question of can we penetrate, what intelligence is and create machines.
The mimic what we thought was unique to us. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Who knows, whether some of these other things like quantum computing, fall into this kind of space as well. Human space travel. We seem to be, ready to escape the bounds of this planet.
Yeah, but there's a plan there, and the plan is to put all the tech bros on those spaceships and just wave goodbye. Yes.
Bye-bye. So, what do you said the telephone sanitizers and the
That's right.
Send them first.
It's Shaka's guide. Sorry. Yes.
So we've both made ourselves into technological gods.
Yes. Yep.
Right? In terms of the kinds of capabilities that we now have,
Yep.
or maybe soon will have.
Yep.
And we've created systems which are integral to that godlike power, that are critical infrastructure to that godlike power, that are deeply unsustainable.
Yep.
Like driving the planet over a cliff.
Right.
Yeah.
Kind of things,
Which is
right?
getting back to my earlier question of why does this matter? This is
Well,
exactly why
so
it matters. Yes.
So I do think we are at a point where we have to come to grips with the global technological enterprise that we have fashioned and the consequences that it has for the habitability of the planet on the one hand, and as you are front and center in what it means to be human in the future, biologically, cognitively, relationally. And so the kind of futuring that I do is focused on multiple plausible scenarios. Right. And kind of strategy type work, not here's my forecast for what's going to happen. So that's why
Are you telling me? You're telling me
answering your question.
Are you telling
about
me
the
on your
future of this
laptop
country?
there is not a file that's like Clark's plan to take over the world?
No, it's worst case scenario.
But let me give you a narrower version of that, right? So in 2023 and in 2024, I was just looking at this data. Over the 50 years before 2025, so from 1975 to 2025, the average high temperature in Phoenix in July went from 104 to 107. Right? So 3 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay. In July of 2023, it was 114. In July of 2024, it was 112. And we spiked heat deaths in Maricopa County as a result of that. Changed our mental configuration in this city. We've built a network of cooling centers. We've identified vulnerable populations. We've created a statewide heat emergency plan, et cetera, to deal with this. Now, the cause of that temperature rise was twofold. It was climate change, but it was also the urban heat island effect. And the latest studies that we have about the urban heat island effect in Phoenix indicate the bigger the city that gets, the more the urban heat island temperature increases in the middle.
Not surprisingly.
Right. So what does the next 25 years look like? That goes straight to your question. Well, it looks like we continue to drive global warming and we continue to grow this city at the outer edges. I don't see any reason why we're not going to do both of those things at this point. Which means we probably add several more degrees of average temperature. And we don't know what this variability looks like because the last 4 years have been much more variable. Than the previous
which is
50
also
years,
part of it, that instability.
So the scenarios for what 2050 looks like in this city could be empty. It's really not hard to imagine.
I mean, it's
brutal. Go over that edge.
And 75 major electricity outages in the United States every year. That's the ones the utilities report. Now, the definition of major is a little bit up to them, but 75 a year, right? This 2023 study, 2-day electricity outage in the summer in Phoenix, you have 13,000 deaths and 800,000 people in the hospital. The hospitals cannot handle anything like that. So which means you have probably more deaths that result from the lack of medical treatment for those who have heat illness, heat exposures. Right. An event like that happens. The public perception of this space, which already outside of this city is often uninhabitable.
Yes.
Which I think even the inhabitants would agree.
Right.
So you can imagine a scenario in which there are very few people living in this city 25 years from now. Right. You can imagine a future in which there are still 5 million people, or maybe a few more living in this city. Current trends just continue. 69,000 people moved to this
the
city
growth here is
last
incredible.
year.
Yes,
Net
yes.
migration.
Yep.
Okay, whatever.
Fools.
So those trends continue,
Yep.
right? I, at several times last summer,
Mm-hmm.
did not feel comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Did not feel safe
Yeah.
outside.
Yeah.
Walking, for example, from my office to my car.
Sure.
Right.
In the heat of the summer afternoons,
Yeah.
right? So you can imagine
Mm-hmm.
that those, let's say, 6 million people, 7 million people in 2050 living in this valley
Mm-hmm.
are at the edge of insecurity.
Right.
Sure.
Yep.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
end up with a very
Confronting-
fragile system.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
And then you
Right?
tack into that, right? Is then if people aren't here, the property values plummet. I mean, you have this localized economic crash as well.
But
in
you
terms
also
of-
have the socioeconomic side of it.
Oh,
so
absolutely.
those who are mobile move out.
Yep.
Those who aren't
are
have to
stuck,
stay. Yes.
right?
Yes.
And I think, and for people who are listening, who are like, well, it's hot, but yeah, it's not that. I mean, what people don't understand. Well, one, when you get to 120 degrees, you can feel when you walk outside, you feel the heat on your eyeball, like that feeling you get if you open an oven and you get that blast.
Yep.
It's like that.
Yep.
And I've explained this to people who, in my own family who don't live here. I'm like, when the temperature is such where the outside temperature is warmer than the human body,
You can't cool down.
You-
There are ways, but it's very
right?
hard.
The
yes.
human
Yeah.
becomes the ice cube in that your body is trying to cool off the air around you,
Yes.
which accelerates all the heat related issues. And so when you don't have a way to properly cool off by being in an environment where the air temperature is cooler, you have these horrible statistics about these heat deaths that go up through. I mean, between all the very young, the very old, people who are, don't have healthy, they have health issues, what have you.
Yep.
The people who are displaced, who are, essentially on the street, all these things. I mean, you have these, you can get, and again, people don't understand, you can get a nearly 3rd-degree burn by touching the metal in your car when you get in. It's so hot.
Sorry, Clark. Yes.
Well, so just to, run this little exercise out to your point,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
We need to get control
Right.
of our techno-human understanding.
That's where I was taking
and,
this. Yes.
and
Yep.
systems
Yep.
in this city.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, right, that the option is not just to survive as a city,
But to thrive.
But to
yes.
thrive.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right?
Sure.
And-
yeah, of course.
Mm-hmm.
if we can do that, right?
Right.
So what does that mean? Well, we have this critical air conditioning infrastructure. We
Mm-hmm.
can't have people having to go to the hotel
Brownout,
when
blackouts.
their
Right.
air conditioning breaks. We don't know
Mm-hmm.
what the frequency of air conditioning breakages is
Right.
across this city.
Yeah.
I can tell you from my
There's
own
no-
experience what my house.
Right.
I honestly think I could moonlight as a AC repairman because I learned enough about the capacitors and all this stuff. Yeah,
So you say that.
yeah.
We don't know
Mhm.
what the workforce is
Yeah. Yeah.
for air conditioner repair technicians. We don't know if we don't know. It turns out scientifically, we don't know
Mm-hmm.
how the breakage frequency of air conditioners changes as the average temperature goes up.
Mm.
ChatGPT will give you a
Beautiful
really
answers.
great
I'll
story
tell you something.
Right.
about that. And
Yeah.
guess what? It's a story that makes a lot of sense, right? The air
Sounds great.
conditioners are working harder.
Yep.
You're outside their operating temperatures.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep.
The likelihood is it's going to break more frequently.
Yep.
Then you say, give me some
Mm-hmm.
studies, and
There's
it will
nothing.
generate a bunch of great titles.
Right. That don't
And then you
exist.
go
yes.
look for them and they don't
Right.
exist.
Right.
Would you
right.
like me to
There
put
is-
that into a bullet point for you, Clark?
Yeah, but
There
you
is
realize
no
why,
study.
Clark? We
There is
haven't
no
we
study.
haven't built those power plants to fuel the next generation, so we can get the answer. but
We need more
there's-
power.
There's no study
but
that would say what
Yep.
the
and
what the risk of increased breakage is. And then, so we don't know
Yep.
whether we're likely to experience a surge
and
of breakages.
this is exactly
And then a
yes.
surge, do we have the surge capacity of
Of
technicians
people to help.
handle that?
and
so-
these are not
This
questions.
is a critical infrastructure.
Right, and these are not questions that your typical engineer is trained to ask, which brings us back to the point that if we are going to thrive, even just looking at the metropolitan area of Phoenix, if this community is going to thrive, we need people who understand that deep connection between society and humans and technology, the Techno-Humans. If we don't, it's the equivalent of sending a bunch of engineers to sort of create and design a plane, and about halfway through somebody mentions wings and they say, wings? Nobody told us about wings. So what do you want wings for?
So as a card carrying engineer, I say I have immense respect for the engineering profession.
Of course.
But there are these additional questions.
There are,
right?
Yes.
We're also not investing in certain kinds of things. So for example, none of our air conditioners are built and designed for Phoenix.
Right.
Yes.
We are not the dominant market.
Right.
You know, train,
which is surprising.
Sells air conditioners all over, all over the country. Right. So there's an innovation agenda. There's an innovation opportunity for us to invest in new air conditioning technology. There's an opportunity for us to invest in innovation in cooling outdoor spaces. There's an opportunity for us to invest in innovation for new clothing technologies, other kinds of new technologies that would help us. But it means switching. It means switching
the equations. So we're not just innovating to come up with a tech solution that makes somebody rich. We're innovating for human thriving.
Yeah. Right. And just as a public service announcement, as an amateur AC repairman, I can tell you,
you're fixated on this.
I know a lot.
Tell me, did your AC fail somehow?
Oh yes, and at critical moments in my life. But I can tell you, one of the issues was exactly that, Clark. Is when you take the issue, oftentimes is a capacitor issue within the inside the actual the external unit, the extractor unit. Those are meant for like the Midwest market, if you will, with temperatures that get up to 100 degrees Fahrenheit. It's supposed to be a gel inside. When you shake it, it's just all liquid. They do sell hot weather capacitors, but they don't come in. You have to install them separately. So so if your AC goes out, ask about your capacitor. Just saying.
And what we're on the
increasingly though, in my experience, it's the computers.
Oh, interesting.
Failed.
All the electronics.
So the motherboard in my high efficiency air conditioner failed, and
our water
the temperature
like
controller.
These technologies aren't made for hot weather.
They aren't.
So a little fact: your iPhone, unless they've changed things, they're not guaranteed above temperatures of 95 degrees.
No, and it used to. I mean, they've gotten better because I remember when I first came out here, I would often get you're using your phone for GPS or whatever, and you're like, where do I go? Turn left. Okay, and then all of a sudden it would go, your system is it says something like it's too hot, needs to cool down or something, and it's off. And you're like, well, that doesn't help. But no, but also, I mean, even out here, I mean, things that, again, people, that may not be relevant if you've never lived or experienced the heat, the persistent heat like this too, is what it does to everything else. So whether it be automobiles or electronics, the way that heat and the UV ultraviolet from the sunlight destroy plastics and rubber, which then is what everything is encased in. And then you have your electronic boards go bad in your car. How many of your your batteries die every. There's a joke out here.
It's amazing we're actually here.
It's everything. It's a harsh environment. It is like, and there's a joke out here with car batteries. Like, no, you buy one and you get a 12-month warranty. No one's ever bought another one because it doesn't last long enough. So
it's one of the things everybody learns when they move to Phoenix. The car battery conundrum.
It's insane. Yes. Like your car battery doesn't usually last its own lifespan because of the heat. It's just insane. It's absolutely wild.
Did that the other day.
It's crazy.
But what I love about this conversation is this is not a doom and gloom conversation. It's again, if we broaden our horizons, if we reframe how we ask questions and address problems, we could make this an area where people thrive. But we've got to think differently, and we've got to have different skills and different training.
Absolutely.
No, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
The best evidence of the impact of heat on material infrastructure is actually solar panels. So there's this whole conversation about solar panel recycling. It's really hard to recycle them. Solar panels. Not because the materials are particularly hard to recycle. It's because in order to get them to sit outside in the Arizona sun for 25 years and continue to produce energy, you have to make them really, really, really durable. And then that makes them really hard
Right.
to
Yeah, I was going to
recycle.
say very few things could survive 25 years in the Arizona sun. I don't know. Like you see a house that's older than 25 years, and you're like, that's not. It's going to turn to dust if you hit it the wrong way.
Yeah.
You know. Oh my goodness. Well,
But this point you just made, Andrew, is exactly right, and it is to me this design opportunity that we have, and so back to our urban solar project and putting solar in urban spaces. So the reason we don't do that at the moment, except what's called behind the meter, which is to say where the utility doesn't own the space, right, is because of the way utilities price power plants.
Yes. Yep.
So utilities price power plants at the gate. So meaning at the power plant gate, meaning as you take that electron out of the power plant and put it on the grid, what's the price that you're paying for it, right? And so utility scale solar power plants, the things that you build at scale using standardized processes out in the desert or in agricultural lands, always come in at the lowest levelized cost of electricity at the gate.
Right.
And so it's really hard for urban deployed solar. It's not impossible. And actually both the Australians and the Germans do much better than we do at getting a lot closer with that price. But it's still hard to build individualized tiny systems on top of people's rooftops.
Right. Which is competitive. Yes.
Paying attention to not breaking the rooftop.
Yes.
I mean, they just grade the land.
Yeah,
right?
sure. Right.
Put a bulldozer out there, right? If we
Little
did that to
more
urban
difficult on your roof,
spaces,
Yeah.
you know, we could probably make cheap urban solar too. So you've got to have something that compensates. Now, part of that compensation is that you don't have to build big, long transmission lines to move the electricity into the city, which is where we use all the electricity.
Right.
Is in the city, right? So that's part of the equation. We have been in an era in the United States where we've mostly been building solar, utility scale solar, where there were existing transmission lines. And so we haven't had to account for that extra cost.
Right.
In fact, most utilities bucket that cost into a different bucket.
Right. Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
For building those transmission lines. And so it still doesn't look as expensive to build it out in the field. Although if you compare the price at which I can deliver electricity to myself, even using an unsubsidized solar system, even a solar and battery system, compared to the price that the utility charges to deliver electricity to me, I can deliver electricity to myself cheaper.
Interesting.
So that suggests to me that in fact all that
possible. Yes.
grid stuff does add enough cost to the system to make it worthwhile. But still, you do these calculations and you get, you know, it still looks cheaper to build out in the at large utility scale power plants. And so part of what we're trying to do in this project is to say, yes, but when you build it in the city, you also potentially get other benefits.
Right.
Right. So you can use it to offset people's electricity bills. So you can reduce their energy burdens. You can reduce energy poverty, which especially in an area where air conditioning bills are going up. Air conditioning is 60, 70% of our electricity bills annually here in the Valley. And so reducing those costs is valuable.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. You've talked about shade. Right.
Yeah.
And so shade over your car to protect it. You're not having to step into a car that's been heated up all day to 140, 150 degrees. Right. There could be a health issue there. We've created a cultural space out front of our Memorial Union here on campus with solar panels
with the shade there,
that then power an art a lighted up art project at night. And so it's now a space where people can inhabit a much larger fraction of the year than they could otherwise. By the way, green things love growing underneath those solar panels.
Yes.
It's about a 60% density of shade.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Yep.
When you
So
walk by it,
protects the trees.
and you also walk where the shade is. You know what I mean? You kind of going.
it's the Arizona walk.
You're walking.
Yes.
Yeah, it's exactly. It's like, other people will walk through buildings to avoid the snow. We walk through the shade to just not have that sunlight touch you.
So you add batteries,
Yep.
and this becomes an opportunity
Yep.
to potentially do some climate resilience,
Right.
to replace.
But also, you're talking
a
about
diesel
human thriving, and you're not
generator.
talking about sort of sustenance living. You're talking about actually creating environments that people want to be in, that
And
get
you-
value
yeah,
from.
absolutely.
Yes.
Right. And you're talking about what is that value? What is the
Yes.
benefit
Yep.
of designing it this way
Yep.
versus this other way? Now, again, utility financial systems,
Mhm.
there's no line item
Right.
for this.
Right,
yeah,
right.
yeah.
In there, they've got to make the dollars
Right,
balance,
right,
right?
right.
And so somehow we've got to create more
Mhm.
more intricate, flexible financial
right.
arrangements that allow the energy to pay for part of the project,
Yeah.
but to come in and backstop that with these other value creating kinds of opportunities.
Right,
And that means
right.
we got to figure out how to talk to each other. We've got to figure
Yeah.
out how to bring
Yep.
the banks, the energy people, the communities who are the ones who will see the value, who need to determine the value, who
Yep.
need to say this would be valuable to us in this particular
Yeah.
context, and the electric utility who has to put this on the grid,
Yep.
right? Need to and pay for some of the energy costs,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
So
Yep.
so you've got to be able to package that, and that is not the current model of innovation.
And that's where
that
we
we
need to
have.
change through this lens of being techno-humans.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
that
No,
would be nice.
absolutely.
Yes.
I think
That would
that's
be
also
nice.
a great place for us to kind of wrap up
Yeah.
for today. But I think that is a really a great call for a future opportunity too. I mean, as when I say we, everyone who's out here, especially, I mean, this is a harsh environment, and just it would be incredibly, I think, inspiring to think about what kind of solutions we can come up with here that are sort of holistic in the sense that as you mentioned, that might be also very applicable all around the globe. I mean, we are not the only hot weather climate that exists on the planet. And so I think that would be a tremendous use of what does it mean to thrive? How can we leverage these things to create
thrive,
a space
yes.
for thriving
Yes.
into the future, and not one where we end up in this, this hellscape where just the dust blows through and there's like the only people left are those who can't leave.
The Phoenix dystopia. We do not want this.
We don't want that.
No, we definitely don't. So let me just then
Sure.
tease two things. This is my pitch.
Sure.
to come back.
Right.
So one is that there is this fantastic literature that's being written that's called the Solarpunk genre.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I was wanting to bring
Which
this
is
in.
all
actually. So,
about
yes. Yep.
Can we envision
Mhm.
futures in which we have a different relationship with energy and nature
Yep.
than the one that we do? So a different techno-human design,
Yep.
Sure.
if you will. And we've done a bunch of Solarpunk writing
And there's a recent
scenario
book, isn't there?
planning.
Yes.
Yeah, and there's a new book coming
Yes.
out that's on nuclear waste, not solar, but
Okay,
same
right,
concept.
right.
Yeah,
But
same
you've
concept.
also done the solar one or the climate one. The last one that came out was on what? There was one that came out fairly recently, I thought.
So I wasn't involved in that one.
Ah,
Ed,
right, okay.
Ed
But you can still
recently
pitch it,
published.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
This fantastic book. I have my copy
Yes.
called Climate Imagination.
Right. Yes.
and-
Actually, you're right. Yes.
And Ed is really amazing around
Yes. This is Ed
Yes.
Finn, who we
Ed,
had on
friend of the
before.
pod- friend of the podcast, Ed Finn.
Yes.
Director of CSI, Center of Science
The-
and Imagination.
the power of imagination to help get us out
Yeah.
of these invisibilities
Yeah,
that
these
we
ruts
talked about
Yep.
earlier. And then the second pitch is, the Technosphere, this techno-human construction on the planetary scales that we've created is really complex.
Yeah.
And as you suggest, we don't have a lot of places
Right.
around this planet where we are actively training
Mhm.
people to operate in this style, and where we are actively interrogating what techno-human life on planetary
Right.
scales looks like, what
Yes.
the
Yeah.
how the technosphere works
Mhm,
and doesn't
mhm.
work.
Yeah, sure.
Those kinds of things. And so this is one of the places where, to come back to the theme of this, one of the big themes of this podcast, where I think AI, there's this question we should be asking about whether it can be helpful.
Right. Yep.
in this space, whether we could construct AI capabilities that would really help us level up
Yep.
Yeah.
our techno-human capabilities
Yeah.
as organization, as individuals, as organizations, as a species.
Yep.
Yep.
I completely
So,
agree.
fantastic.
Yep.
All right. Well, I wrote it down. So you're coming back for, for
The Techno-Human in the age of AI.
That's
Yes.
right. That's right. I think that'd be a fantastic next episode. Well, yes, I do hope you will come back, Clark, because of course, the thing we have just barely scratched the surface. As you can tell, there is so much here, and also the complexity. The complexity goes very deep, and so there's so much to dig to come up. But this has been absolutely fantastic. So thank you for joining us. It's been absolutely a treat to talk to you today.
It's been great. Really appreciate the opportunity. And I didn't even get to tell my story about Christmas lights. So well, I will definitely come back.
Now you definitely have to come back. But this is absolutely fantastic. And, just another call for our listeners and our audience to, again, use your electricity to help promote our show.
Just a little bit of it.
Yes. That's right. Just a little bit, just a responsible amount. But it would be, again, very helpful. Again, as much as we love to continue to grow, it really helps our extended reach with our podcast. If you would give us a like, a subscription, whatever that is, whatever your podcast player allows, but also to leave us a rating and review. And of course, pass our show along to anyone else who you think might benefit from the wide-ranging conversations that we have here. So it would be much appreciated. So Andrew and Clark, and from the 3 techno-humans in the room, thank you very much for a wonderful episode. And yeah, we'll see everybody on the next episode of Modem Futura.
We'll see you there.
End transmission.